southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I'll slow down.
What is going on this evening here in Georgia? Tristan Vogel.
What's going on?
My son, Tristan. How are you tonight?
Yeah, there you go. I am, in fact, your son.
Well, last week we joked around. He's like, what's going on, my dad, Tony? Because when we get in professional environments, he's just like, this is my dad. Well, who's your dad?
Well, I run into it a lot because either, my dad's my boss at like my day job. And then, so, customers, when I'm talking to customers, it's like, oh yeah, let me talk to Tony / managing partner / my dad.
Well, guys and gals, super excited. Our first repeat guest outside of our buddy Cade. You guys listen to the Keeping It Real with Cade stuff. But we got Nate back on here from HuntWise. As you guys know, we are like the biggest fans, really. I mean, if they had a ball game, we'd have the biggest sign. It's just because of the success. This isn't, like I've said before, we were using this a long time ago, and just on a personal level, and really believe in the product. And Nate was nice enough to come on here again with us tonight, and we couldn't be more excited. How you doing tonight, Nate?
Doing great. Thanks for having me back. Appreciate
Yes, sir.
it.
Yes, sir. Super excited. You guys, there's some new things that's going on at HuntWise, some new updates, and we got a lot of cool stuff to cover tonight. So, Nate, just like we do with all guests, kind of, give a quick recap, who you are, how you got, what you do as a family man, and, how you got into hunting and that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, I grew up hunting as a kid. Like my dad would take me out and my brother out and stuff like that. And then, high school, college, I didn't really have any other friends that actually went hunting. So I sort of fell out of that just that time period. Just like, what? I just want to hang out with my friends, less time, hanging out with my dad kind of thing, unfortunately. But, by luck of the draw and just some popping around here and there for work, living in Colorado for a bit, moving back to Michigan, I had to start working with HuntWise. We're like a mobile mapping, weather-based tool set. We jokingly say we're the guide in your back pocket to help you navigate the wind and the wear. And it's really been fun to just see us grow, getting more and more user feedback and making a better and better product and just adding different features. And it's been going 100 miles an hour. It seems like it hasn't been nonstop, but yeah, it's been busy the last few years. It's been busy since the last time we talked. So glad to be back, and hopefully have some new updates to share with y'all.
Oh man, I just think about you how there's so many of us that do this in the industry. And just a quick shout out to y'all that are thinking about getting in the industry. It's a real job. All right. And I just think about these guys over at HuntWise and guys and gals. And I think, they're over there, just coming in and doing their thing, whatever job duty that each person has, but like around the, what do they say around the
horn?
No, the water machine in the break room.
Oh yeah.
They're sitting there like, so, did you shoot a 6x6 this weekend? He's like, no, man, I was up shooting bighorn sheep, and just the conversations would be so fun all the time, just all the time.
Yeah, it's fun. Can't lie. It's like, we always joke that, we're a tech company that happens to be in the hunting space. It's fun because I think this will hopefully makes us relatable to some people. It's like, I'd say half the people have hunted or come from a hunting background. The other half haven't. So I think it's good that we get both perspectives from just a tool set, just from, remembering not everyone's an expert hunter. Not everyone has hunted. Not everyone has, whether a parent figure or someone who's taken them over the years, or there's people who are getting back into it. I claim for myself, like, no, I'm not a pure expert. No, I feel like, hey, there's so much to learn, and I just need to soak it all in as much as possible. So,
absolutely.
But it is fun where we're talking about trail cam pics, talking about the weather, talking about what we're seeing in the app, and just, I don't know, it's just like talking about property, getting access to other, pieces of land, or just knowing someone who just shot a big buck, and it's a cool kind of connection where both passion and a career can collide together and actually be real. But the flip side, where it's also like, man, we're doing so much work right now. We should be hunting, but we gotta get this stuff done. We gotta make sure our product is rolling out. Gotta make sure the bugs are fixed, and any new updates we're doing. And so it feels like, man, I don't think we hunt as much as we would have or used to. Like, it just seems like we're so busy. And then, of course, family and other things like that too. But
yeah,
I think we joked that, man, it feels like we're busier this year than ever. And we're just like looking at the weather. It's like, I should have been out. Should have been out in the woods this morning, but had a couple morning calls. We had meetings and all the other kind of stuff that we just need to pay our dues and get that done.
Well, you bring up that point, and we had Bradley Cohen. He's a professor at Tennessee Tech University, I think is where it is, that does a lot of work with waterfowl and stuff, and he actually has a great deer and turkey program too. You may have heard of him, Nate. I don't know. But we had him on the podcast not too long ago, and he was saying, part of the double-edged sword of what he does is that, his busiest time of year is during hunting season. Mm-hmm. So while, yes, he does get to live his dream and work in the outdoor industry as a professor and, teach students with all this, cool technology on studying animals, it's also, it limits his hunting time.
Right.
It's definitely a double-edged sword for sure. That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Man. So for those of you out there, if you're not familiar with the HuntWise product, I just want to kind of give you guys a real quick user type of commercial real quick on what we're talking about here. So HuntWise is an app that you can download on your Android or download it on your iPhone. Shame on you if you use Android. I feel like Android equals Biden. I'm just sorry. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it. Sorry. I'm sorry. But anyway, the thing is that it's a hunting tool set, y'all, that really gives you so many of the things that you need as a hunter. Number one, from a safety standpoint, all the way through advantages and success and entertainment even, and saving money. And so I just wanted to kind of go through, if you don't mind, Nate, I'm just going to kind of just like give a quick rundown real quick. Some of the things that y'all will find with the HuntWise product is one of the biggest features immediately is the mapping feature. We're talking about, I don't even know Nate, how many different map layers and stuff combinations is there?
Break it down per state. I think we're over like around 400 different map layers. So
goodness
obviously
gracious.
Not each state has 400, but we just try to break out what states are unique, certain map layers. We have a GIS department team of just like trying to find new information that the state's updating, or even just like from other individual sources that we can pull information. So yeah, landowner information. We talked about before, but phone numbers if they're publicly available. So if you shoot a deer, you can cross the boundary line. Hopefully, you can get a hold of the landowner or the person that actually may not live at that property, but at least can ring them up. Hopefully, say, "Hey, I'm so and so. Just shot a buck across the property. Can I have your permission to go retrieve it?" So it's been countless stories that people say it was super helpful for them to either recover or find new property. Yeah, it's been really cool, that feature for people.
Yeah, well, I think one of the and this really just kind of popped in my head tonight, and I want to talk about it, is that I think a lot of people forget to talk about what folks like HuntWise do for your safety. I mean, y'all, for you to be able to, I don't know if you've ever been lost before, but I was one time, and it's only because I fell out of a tree and was knocked out for about an hour. Yeah. And then I walked a mile and a half the wrong way. Tristan knows all about this. I was taking down tree stands in the spring and just didn't have my safety line. And thank God I was okay, but I definitely had a concussion. From a safety standpoint, y'all, whenever you're able to, like, for example, the base layers of what we use here at HuntWise, you have this HuntWise Pro Satellite version. And you can get HuntWise that with the contours overlaid. When you can pull that kind of data up in that amount of detail, it is a game changer when you're talking about, I remember back whenever we used to buy, we would from the USGS, we would buy the topo maps and the aerial photographs. And I remember printing them on clear Mylar so that I could overlay it over the top of a aerial photograph. And you guys, this is what you get at your fingertips. It's insane. When you are a pro or elite member, you get the access to this kind of stuff. And like Nate was saying, there's over 400 map layers per state. You can go into land ownership. You can make favorites. You can look at so much, like cell phone coverage. That's a crazy thing that you guys added. That is so cool. But each state you can just go, like right now, I've got it pulled up right now. I'm going to Georgia. And the first thing I see is Georgia wildlife management areas, DNR lands, designated
boat
areas,
ramps.
boat ramps, hunting access points. So you know where you can get in at, county boundaries. I mean, that's just in Georgia, not counting the other base layers. So incredible stuff, you guys, as far as the maps go. Let's get into a couple other of these things. Number one, there's a social media piece. So if you want to just see, if you're a social media snob and you want to just, I want to see hunting and fishing stuff, bro, you get this app because you go into the feed and you don't see anything about, well, you see a lot of good stuff about Trump on here, but you don't see some of the other crazy stuff that you see on regular social media, and it's all hunting and fishing related, and it's really cool. You talked about it last time, Nate, that it gives people the ability to share their trophy success, no matter what level of success that is. And
it's like having a place. If you're like a 12-year-old kid and put on social media nowadays, and you just have all these, people just ripping you down. Like, that's not a great experience. So we sort of want to make it a place where people just be celebrated, whether it's a kid shooting squirrels or, person doing waterfowl to, getting a trophy buck. Like, it's all pretty cool. Just like seeing people really connect as much as possible and just be celebrated, not really feel the negative side of social media as much as we can.
No doubt about that. You were going to say something, Tristan?
Oh, no, that's hearing you say that, and I've heard you say that before, and yeah, we totally agree on that. And everybody's seen as part of different Facebooking groups, American Bow Hunter, United States Bow Hunting, or United States Duck Hunting, whatever it is, and you see that kind of thing where somebody posts something and they're like proud of it, and then so many people are like, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that?
Would have been bigger next year.
Yeah, just stuff like that. So,
as waterfowlers, we experience all kinds of extreme weather conditions. Stay bone dry and warm with Frog Togs hunting gear. You can check them out at frogtogs.com or at frogtogshunt on Instagram.
It is cool to kind of build an environment about that,
Yeah, it's just really cool that you can get on there and just share that with other fellow hunters, The other thing, y'all, Nate, how many different manufacturers and retailers or I don't know the right word to even use, partners, do you guys have going on the gear side of things? I mean, there's some stuff that's like up to 40-50% discounts, right?
Yeah. No, it's been probably one of the more fun parts about my job is just like creating these relationships with great brand partners and connecting our pro and elite users with great brands, great products in the space. I think we're a little over 100 companies, 100 different brands, 100 different products, some archery. I think we have archery, turkey, whitetail, tree stands, trail cameras, a couple of apparel companies like Scentlock, Frog Tog. Trying to fit everyone's need of what they would want to be successful in the woods, or if they need to get something new, or trying something out for the first time that hopefully we can help people save some money.
Yeah, and I've brought this up before, but there's a lot of incidents. Basically, anytime now that I need to buy something for, no matter what it may be, deer hunting, duck hunting, whatever, I go back on and comb through the app and be like, do we have, what I mean? Like, I was just looking the other day because I have this incredible ability to lose rangefinders. and I've ordered. I don't know if Halo is still on there, but
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I got to order another one because my Halo rangefinder that I bought from the HuntWise discount, I managed to lose that one too. so now I got to get another one. But the fact that I can go on there and get this $100 rangefinder for, I think at the time it was maybe 30 or 40% off, and get it for $60 or $70. I mean, that's huge.
Yep.
Well, what you've basically said in a nutshell, son, is that I like to get 2 for 1. It's like, that's what you said. If I wouldn't have used HuntWise, I would have only got 1.
Yeah, right.
But because I suck, I now have 2.
And I lose stuff
or I had
all
to.
the time.
Yeah, man.
It's definitely one of those things. Like, we know the barrier of entry for some people, just the cost. So, we try to do what we can, to make it easier, or at least people can find the gear and hopefully save some money. And we've had some people they basically more than saved the amount of money from what they bought.
Oh yeah,
covered their subscription. So that's always cool to hear when we're actually providing additional value for our users. So that's I've been really happy with that program, and just want to keep on trying to build it up more and more and get more brands on there, and make it really cool for people.
And there's so many different things. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't, name a lot of brands and stuff, but I like, if you're trying to get into archery or whatever, you can go on there and probably find like a knot company, maybe. I know you can definitely find a broadhead company.
Nocturnal.
Broadhead.
I would imagine you guys probably got an arrow or something, and, you got range.
Express.
Yeah, exactly. So almost top to bottom, you could go on there and get a discount for every single thing you would need to start as a hunter, which just about outside of like a bow, we were talking about earlier. But
well, I'll bring it up because I think it ties into this right now. One of the cool things you can do with your profile is you have a gear locker, right? So you can go in under your profile, y'all, and let's just say, you like one of the products you can get on here also is Hawk tree stands. I mean, come on, right? You go on there, you can like put that stuff in your gear locker. And what's cool about it is that when you look at other hunters that are being successful and stuff, how many times do we want to be able to go like, man, what do they use? And, what gives them an advantage? And, what do they rely on? And it's such a real, it's like a referral.
Almost. Social referral.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I love doing that. Like some of the users that I'm on there with, we're on there, Tristan and me, Drew, we're all on there. You guys, if you want to look us up, but it's cool just to be able to see what other people are using and what they have in their gear locker, so it's just a cool piece that you guys do all this with the social media. And then now we got all this access to discounts. I mean, y'all, look at this I'm going to sell you a little bit here, okay? All right, I'm going to sell you. The salesman's going to pitch in right now. All right, so check it out.
Preaching the gospel.
Yep, I'm preaching the gospel. Yep, it's easy to preach when you believe in it. And so anyway, I've always said that, if I see a pastor at church just getting into it, I'm like, you go, brother. It's like, just go, But here's the cool thing. Think about this just real simply, right? Let's say that you are Tristan, and you need a rangefinder, and it's going to save you $40. All right, you save that $40. That's just one product. All right. I don't know about y'all, but a lot of us spend a lot of money on hunting apparel, equipment, and everything else, and especially us duck hunters. I mean, us duck hunters it's such a if you put a duck hunt in a business plan, it would fail every time because you're going to lose on the money side of it as far as return on investment. But maybe also hunting actually. But here's the cool thing is that you only got to make a couple purchases as an Elite or Pro member to pay for your whole year easily. I mean, if you guys can't afford $120 for this, you can do something that gives you the return so you can afford it, is my point.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
When you look at it from that perspective.
Yeah.
And if you use code ZeroDuck30.
Yeah. Now you're talking discount. So y'all, you gotta go check that out. But so we got that, and then real quick, so here's some of the stuff that I wanted to really dig into tonight with you, Nate.
Yeah.
You guys have made some updates to some things. I want, if you can, why don't you, I'm going to let you just kind of just run the show here on this whole Rutcast, Huntcast, all this stuff. But before I do, something just hit me. We didn't present the biggest news for HuntWise.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
Mr. John Dudley.
Yeah.
Right? Nate, can you just kind of mention what's going on?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's sort of funny, like just like how just the connections that happen, and just like all of a sudden you're texting, and then it's just like, all right, let's meet, let's see what our ethos and his ethos, and we knew from the beginning like those were going to go the same direction and match. So it was really easy to start talking about education, start talking about helping people learn the different aspects of hunting that maybe some of them have someone else to teach them. So John, awesome guy, super proud to work with him. Just his heart for sharing knowledge. I've gone to a couple of total archery challenges. He's there, and there's just a line of people. He's just teaching them, showing them how to shoot. They have their 111-yard shot of a big Yeti, and he's helping kids figure out where they need to put their sight on when they're used to shooting 40 yards. They're like, hey, just aim at that cloud and you should be pretty close. So it's just fun to see his heart for helping people, educating them, and it was just a great connection, great match, and super stoked to see some of the future stuff we're going to do together, and really just carry forward, just like increasing archer, bow hunting, and just like overall hunting in general.
Yeah.
But that's his passion. His passion, and it matches up with us.
He seems a little bit like a modern day Fred Bear type character,
Man, yeah.
that had a passion, before social media, Fred Bear was that guy before social media, and
like helping people, showing people, taking the time.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Exactly.
And more and so solid on the archery side.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm sure he's a hunter, but man, so much of his stuff is on the archery side, and that's what I love.
The pure fundamentals of archery.
Yeah, being the one with your bow and all this stuff that we all are psychos about, But if you guys haven't checked out John Dudley, and it's Knock on TV, right? If you guys haven't checked that out, man, you guys are really
check out his YouTube, the School of Knock. Like there's he sort of just walks you through the process of if you're picking up a bow for the first time, and trying to get some simple techniques and some just to grow that base, and he does a great job. Like I watched all of that content when I first started getting back into archery hunting. Super immensely helpful. So really excited about that.
Heck yeah. And I've listened to him in depth a couple times just through the clips that you guys have posted through that podcast you guys did, and then I know he's been on Joe Rogan's podcast more than once, and just the in depth stuff, hearing him talk, and and one thing I thought was really interesting too is that it kind of sounds like same thing why he partnered with you guys is like, or why you guys partnered with him too is like, the whole thing with him going with PSE versus like Matthews or Hoyt or some of these other brands is like, it was something he like truly believed in, and I saw when you guys, partnered, there was a clip of him saying that like, it's because this is something I truly believe in, that, is an awesome thing. And I definitely believe that coming out of his mouth because of just the credibility I've seen out of the stuff he's done.
So authentic.
He's very authentic.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
So, guys, we've got, all right, so HuntWise has got this cool, I'm just sitting here looking at it, and if deer moved through my yard right now, I'd be smoking their ass. I'm just kidding. I'm looking at this HuntCast, you guys. All right, so Nate, let's talk about, if you could first tell the viewers and listeners, what is HuntCast, Rutcast, etc., and then, man, these updates, you guys, this is so freaking cool.
Yeah, I appreciate it. A lot of work went into it. So initially when we started as a company, we were like a weather-based algorithm. So like everything from like figuring out what is the most optimal elements that help deer move or that matches deer movement. So we were necessarily a deer movement, algorithm or app. So that's still part of our bread and butter, just like that weather, figuring out the mappings to where to go. But we really try to help people optimize their time, tell them like, this is the best time that you should probably go out based on the factors of the weather. And we just sort of try to make it, as clear, as easy as possible. Like, if you have work, try and give people as much of a heads up. No, that's obviously weather can change, but I can say, hey, next week, Thursday, if you need to try to get off of work, or let the family know that, hey, I'm going to be going to the woods in the afternoon, that we just try to help people optimize their time as much as possible. So we've worked with a gentleman named Jeff Sturgis. He's with a whitetail habitat solution, has over 30 years of whitetail management. So we worked with him to sort of fine tune this algorithm with some of his information and his research. And so we really just have focused on, like I said, just helping people find the optimum time with whether it's cold fronts, wind, the aspects, some aspects of barometric pressure, the moon, and all those aspects of, and then combine the different phases of the rut. So HuntCast is just your year-round 365 weather algorithm. And then for the season, we have a seasonal tool called RutCast that, based on your geographic location, county by county or area, we help people show you what phase of the rut you're in. So,
do you want coffee that doesn't suck? Get the Duck. Dirty Duck coffee is made specifically for the waterfowl enthusiast. Enjoy flavors like Morning Wood, Dark Dynasty, Cinnamon Teal Snickerdoodle, and First Flight to unlock the flavor that you'll enjoy in the blind for years to come. Our friends at Dirty Duck Coffee Company are now offering all Zero Duck 30 followers a 15% discount when you use code ZeroDuck15 on your next order.
Wow.
Everyone thinks of the rut as like a 2-week time period. It's just going to be gangbusters. It's going to be crazy. There's actually different cycles of that whole estrus cycle for does, and that also could have an impact on how the bucks will be moving and just how their rut. So there's the pre-rut, lull, peak rut, and then the secondary rut. So the older bucks that bred, first beginning of the first few weeks, 30 days later, or not 30 days, but whenever they rest back up, they're going to try to breed again. So it can be like a secondary kind of secondary rut, and in some places there could be a third. So it's not just one same as everything, flip on, flip off of a switch, but there's like different phases to that. And we believe that there's different ways that you should hunt those phases to just find the ultimate success and not miss out on different, situations of the pre-rut where they're really just getting after it. Walking farther distances, like the older bucks, are starting to get up and going, or the younger bucks are the first ones to get up going, and the older mature bucks, they know that the does aren't in estrus yet, so they're not going to waste the energy to start chasing until those does are. So we're really trying to help people show, hey, the rut is a little bit more detailed than what traditionalists, I'd say, consider it, that there's different ways to optimize your time hunting the rut to find the most success. So we're pretty stoked about that. It's called RutCast. It comes with the HuntWise Elite membership, and combining the weather and then combining the phases of the rut. Hopefully you can find these sort of coordinated days where it's just going to be gangbusters, and just optimize your time to find success in the woods.
Yeah. No, and one of the coolest things for me, Nate, to see you guys do this is I know we've talked before, I'm sure, about, my dad and, his hunting background and with my grandma and stuff, and just the stuff that they used to record on pen and paper. Like, for example, she way back, would record what was the wind every single hunt. Yeah. What was, whatever. And they found that the big bucks move on an east wind in Illinois because it's the non-predominant wind. And,
it throws off everything they're used to doing on their regular cycle.
It throws it for a loop.
Yeah. And, that's
because the prevailing wind southwest.
Yeah. And when I picture, when I hear you talking about this stuff, I just start thinking about the stuff that I've always heard over my whole life that my dad and my grandma has told me, which, brings a great point back up to what you were saying earlier. I'm one of those people that was fortunate enough to have family that can teach me these things, but you guys are structuring this business around people that weren't as fortunate to have those things. And then to have that at your fingertips to be stuff that, we all know is factual is just incredible.
Yeah.
It's not like this is out of thin air, like you guys were talking about the guy, I forgot the guy you were just naming a few minutes ago.
Oh, yeah,
Nate,
Jeff Sturgis. Yeah.
Jeff Sturgis. But, it guaranteed that's factual stuff,
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
You guys.
Yeah, it's like, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and I want you to keep diving into this because I honestly, there's this one stand over in Illinois, this one valley that is just like my public land. I don't go in there until like the last couple days because I know as the hunting pressure builds up, that spot's gonna get good. And I'm like, let me see what's going on with HuntCast in Big Buck Valley. And I pull this thing up, you guys. I've got so much FOMO right now. I'm not kidding you guys. This thing, I'm going to get a quick overview. This thing is telling me that if I'm not there on Saturday 11/5, I'm missing the boat. And I mean, it's just got this 99% green. All the factors are right.
Yes.
11/8. All the factors are right. 11/10. Stay home, sleep in. You guys, to be able, I can look all the way to 11/10. So Nate, dive into this stuff. Just some of these details of this stuff.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's super awesome. Like, it's like there's certain aspects of just like how the weather is in the future that we do our best to show, like, hey, if you can give as much of a heads up notice, go for it. Plan that trip. Figure out, your logistics, getting time off, or if you have to make a drive. But
ask for PTO.
Yep. There's nothing worse of just like, I'm only going to take the second week of November off and we'll hunt that week. What if the weather's not great?
Right.
And you're not adjusting your plan to match how the weather plays. Like, that's just not great usage of time.
Mm-hmm.
And, as the weather changes, you could see that, the, what was it, 11/8 could change a little bit. It could be, could come up sooner. It could be 11/7, but you still have that forecast ahead of time to know that there's a good day in this next couple of weeks that I need to keep my eye on, that, as we get to next week, and if anything changes, it'll show. But just like, I know that this is a day I need to be out there, and this is my stand. I need to be out there because we also do it with our wind cast. So that's another cast I could put out there. But wind cast, it allows you to, when you set a tree stand pin in HuntWise, you can preset your ideal wind condition. So like you said, hey, I only hunt this stand if there's an east wind.
Mm-hmm.
That way, when you're looking at the weather forecast and HuntCast, you can look at your hunt area, you can check out your pins, and you can see what the wind direction is going to be like for that day. So okay, this stand I won't be able to hunt because I don't have my east wind. I'll hunt this other stand and keep this one good until I have that perfect wind. So we try to show weather, we try to show what phase of the rut, and we also try to help you figure out the wind direction for your stand, so you can just have the best plan as possible before you go out into the field. So,
yeah. And I mean, like you were just saying, there's been several times that, Tony Drew and I, or Tony and me and whoever, have been sitting there, the night before looking at HuntWise and, looking at our different stands, and, you got them all plugged in, you got your preferred wind and all that. And we're like, well, this one doesn't look good, but these two do. So why don't you two go hunt these, and then, I'll go hang another one or whatever. And
just get a game plan together.
Exactly. And man, that's, like I said just a second ago, just to see the stuff that, it's almost like validation in a way for like the stuff that I always heard my whole life growing up, to see like that integrated into like people having success with the same things. I'm like, holy cow, like there is some science to like hunt these deer,
Yeah. It's like, we try to just make it easier to understand. And I guess like to go back to your question, Tony, that's why we did this whole new update to HuntCast, because we really listened to our users and we're looking at just like basically our tool analytics of how people are engaging with the tool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, doing surveys and getting people's feedback of, can we make this more simple? Can we make it easier from, if you were to look at it at a glance, that you can understand the 99% day? That's a really good day.
Yeah.
That's the day you should go out. No, 70% chance? No, they're never say never.
Yeah.
But if you only have a limited amount of time to go out, maybe that is the day you only sleep in, and then you try to do an eating hunt instead. So that's with the whole new update to HuntCast. We really want to make it where it's super intuitive, really easy to navigate all your hunt areas,
Yeah.
really easy to look up new properties or look up different places on the map just by, clicking the spyglass icon, typing in an address, that you could see what the weather's like for those areas, just like the weather app.
Yeah.
We really just try to make it, match some of the iOS kind of UI UX, because people are so used to that kind of interface
Mm-hmm.
that we just wanted to make this as really simple, really clean, and easy for people to know where are my good days and what are my not so good days. There's not there's you have one stand, you don't want to use it up or burn up a stand.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're getting like a 30% day. Hang up another stand that you're okay to, if I blow it out a little bit just with my wind, or it might not be the best. No, so go for that one, but keep your prime stands ready. Wait for that perfect wind, wait for that perfect weather to match up, and find success.
For sure.
Yeah, that's what we tried to help show people with the new update, and really just break it down for people on a more digestible, easier to understand level.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a lot of work to do it, but we're happy, and we're trying to get more and more features like that figured out for the future.
You guys nailed it, man. No, go ahead, Tristan.
Appreciate it.
Now, in terms of, Rutcast, like from the, from the scientific side of things, I was just talking to to my buddy the other day, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure, traditionally, like, what gets deer going into their hormones changing and the rut and all that stuff is like it's like a sunlight thing, I believe, right? Or
It's based on the pull of the sun or the orbit of the sun and stuff. Is that what
like
you're
the
trying to
days
get
getting shorter, like something with.
It's just that change of just the season. That's okay. It's time that the estrus cycle starts going.
Okay.
Which is on a time daily cycle based on when they were born.
Okay.
Just like when bucks drop their antlers differently based on when they were born, things like that. Right, Nate?
And my question was, is there any like commonality to like I know you guys, you got the Rutcast, and then you can see on our end like what is preferable, for the Rutcast, but is there any commonality on like the scientific side of things that you guys have seen that like tends to trigger the rut, like when you can kind of predict these things, or is it just kind of traditional?
A lot of it, from what I understand, I'm not saying I'm the best expert on this specific one, but it's going to happen year in, year out. It's on that natural clock cycle that, let's say some people it's like, oh, a cold front came in, really threw things for a loop. The rut is going to push up next year by a week. From what I understand, what I believe, it's like that same biological clock is going to start no matter what. And there's studies actually done with like the estrus cycles with deer from car accidents, for during the spring or whenever the does are carrying the fawns, like, and there's a car accident, like there's studies done like, okay, we can tell based on the size of the fawn fetus that the estrus cycle start XYZ date. Start backfilling. So there's a very sort of common a regular kind of biological clock for that rut cycle. So maybe it could seem slightly different, and I think that's the hard thing too that we've noticed internally is people will say, "Hey, I saw does moving. I saw bucks chasing does,
Mm-hmm.
and like the rut's on now." But there's also the case of like those deer that are starting to get after it or seem to be getting after it. Those are probably younger bucks. Those does probably aren't in their estrus cycle because it's not like once the bucks are chasing them, that it's the young bucks, the more immature ones that'll probably start chasing early. But since the does aren't in their estrus cycle yet, that's why they're running away. They're not ready to breed. And that's why the bigger mature bucks are just waiting. They're conserving their energy. So I think I could be off on this percentage, but like 20 to 30% of the size of the deer could be lost during the rut just because they're constantly running, constantly trying to find a doe and heat and breed. That the older bucks like, hey, I'm going to conserve my energy. I'm going to conserve everything until the does are actually ready. Like I'm not going to get after it unless they're ready. And they're just going to wait until the time is right, and then that's when they start moving. That's where you start seeing that those bigger mature bucks starting to move in daylight, and that's like, okay, now the rut's really on. Like there's that little the young immature bucks getting after it. That's the great inclination and starting point, but the real rut hasn't started yet because those aren't in estrus yet.
Well, one thing that my dad has, pointed out to me years ago was like, you'll see these little bucks pushing does and that kind of thing. And, you were just bringing that up, Nate. I remember, I guess it was probably 3 years ago, a specific thing. The first time I saw it, I watched one or two little bucks chase this doe on these three like fingers of ridges. I was kind of sitting at the top of like three of them, and I watched a big buck hang out down in the valley the whole time, like 150, 160 inch deer hang out the whole time and watch these bucks chase that doe.
Our partners at HuntWise are offering an exclusive discount for Zero Duck 30 followers. As an elite member, some of the features you'll immediately gain access to are HuntCast, WindCast, peak kill times, property lines, owner information and phone lookup, 250 map layers, unlimited offline maps, 3D maps, social media, and on top of it all, save up to 50% off some of the top hunting brands in the industry. Download and explore the #1 hunting toolset today and save 20% by using code DUCK30.
And he just watched them the whole time and never came close. And that's when it clicked for me, like exactly what you're saying. It's like,
bro, they've been around the block. They've done those chases. And they know what's going on. And one thing that, I love to bring up when we're on this subject is, deer have different personalities, just like every other animal on the planet, just like you and I. You have some that are the most, forgive my language, the baddest ass little 8-point rack you'll ever see in your life that'll smash a 12-point whatever that's got this timid behavior. You got some bucks that rub all the time because it's learned behavior. Some areas they don't. I've seen that kind of stuff. But one thing I wanted to bring up about the rut that you guys were talking about, and this is based on scientific data, is that, back in the day we had this lease of 4 square miles of property, big piece of property. And we had biologists from the state of Illinois on there for 6 years doing studies from airplane, helicopter, nets, radio collar, GPS, all that stuff back then. And what they determined at the end of the study, and keep in mind this is before the use of trail cameras and stuff. This was in the late 90s, mid 90s. And they determined that the buck of 4.5 years of age and older, 76% of them are never seen by a human after the age of 4.5. That's incredible stuff that they I remember them telling us one story. They said, we had this radio collar buck, and he was a big, giant, non-typical. Actually, a good friend Dwayne ended up shooting this deer with the radio collar on, and it was 100. I think it was 180 inch deer. It's giant deer, and your typical Illinois, 8 3/4 inch bases or something stupid like that, And what they found was that this deer, they were following the signal, right? And they got this reader and all this thing. And they knew that they were within 30 yards of this deer and could not see it. And it was all like low brush.
Mm-hmm.
This buck, they finally jumped it within like 12 yards, and it was like yellow grass and brush. It jumps up and takes off. They go up and look in the bed. The deer was laying with his neck flat on the ground to hide, and was just going to let him walk right by. And, you know, I've always said that they're one of the smartest animals I've ever met. And you've heard me talk about it on the
100%.
podcast before, that the guy that wrote Bambi knew what he was doing, because that big buck on there was he alerted the whole forest. He was the smartest animal in that movie. But my wife always says, if they're so smart, how come they run out in front of vehicles? And I said, well, if you only got to do that once a year, I think I'd run out in front of vehicles too. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
but I just wanted to mention about when we had that property, one of the things they give us feedback on was at the south end of the property, and this property had it all. From natural food to whatever. It's just typical Illinois, northwestern Illinois Golden Triangle land. They said that the rut, there was almost a borderline on the property that just happened to be there, that he said the south end would always kick off 2 weeks after the north end of the property. And bucks would learn this and flip-flop the property so that they could get maximize their efforts. But it was so crazy. And they did everything from study them to, hey, this buck left this rutting area in, he stayed there until January, left in January, went 7 miles up the river and went to that area for the next however many months till October or whatever, and then came back. It's crazy that of this stuff that the technology gives us with what these animals are doing. And now with HuntWise, y'all, they're making this very easy. No, hunting is easy, right? they're helping absorb the pain.
Trying to add get the cards to line up as best as possible, but man, it's still hunting. Like,
right.
That's the thing with deer, man. They're just so smart. The old ones just have seen things. They've been around the block. But sometimes during that rut, whatever phase you're in, sometimes they just slip up. That's all you need, just that one time.
Yeah, and here's the other thing that I learned a long time from my stepfather, that I call him a stepdad, and he was known to be a legend in bow hunting with Fred Bear. I mean, taught thousands of people how to shoot, including my mom, which is, a world record holder and all that stuff. And, one thing that he taught me about the rut was, I came back and I was a teenager, and the year before, it was just one of those times where you're like, bro, I was in the middle of the explosion of the rut. And when you're in that and you get it's almost like being on the X and duck hunting. You're on the X and during the rut, it's like, yeah, kill me then.
The woods are alive.
Yeah. I mean, you're like, I saw 12 bucks and 37 does, and I mean, just stupid stuff, right? And one of the things that I talk about a lot is that, so many people come back and they go, oh, the rut was bad this year, and it just wasn't good. And here's a fact. Sometimes you're just not in the right spot. It might have been happening one ridge over from where you were. And it could be really that minute. And it's not so much like, what I'm getting at is you guys talk about the tradition of the rut, how it's very predictable as far as dates go and stuff like that.
Yep.
That really is true, y'all. And you all need to understand that just because you don't have people call the Big Bang, you just might not have seen it. It might have been a ridge over from you.
Just because you didn't see it doesn't mean it didn't happen. Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's always the hard, interesting aspect of this is like, when it comes to user feedback, specifically with the rut, and even like, the use of some trail cams and stuff like that too, it's like there are certain external reasons that you just have to understand that could be affecting things.
Yeah.
That where you're just not in the right place.
Yeah.
It could just be, like you said, like that, whether it's the bedding, whether it's just the space, where the does are, the bros will be there eventually. Like you could be the best spot for pre-rut or earlier in the season where you're seeing all the bucks, getting super excited, but the does aren't there.
Right.
Those bucks are going to disappear and find where the does are at.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the beast, and just figuring out the land, figuring out deer moving not just from a single property, but from like probably a little bit more of a macro level of like how are the deer moving in this whole general region, which is hard because you don't have access to the whole area, so you have to do the best you can with the spot you have and try to then navigate and make the best game plan for what you have. And that's what we try to help people with. Yeah.
It's so cool.
There was I saw a video not too long ago about a guy that essentially figured that 70% of the bucks that he was seeing in the summer left to go to other properties or whatever off of his property is all he knew. But in the summer, he had them extremely patterned out on his property. And then, as soon as the fall came, they're gone. And there was other bucks on his property that he'd never seen before.
And that shifts all the time based on survival rate. So many factors come in. It's a jockeying process. It's no different than if you take a bunch of wild horses and you put them out there, they're going to figure out who the lead stallion is. And it's just animals have this way of doing it. I saw somebody ask a question the other day about, are bucks territorial? Do they have a territory that they go around and pee on and like a maybe a lion, mountain lion? That's not the case with bucks, and we could dive into this rut spiral for a million years. I mean, we really could, and I'll just tell you this: if I can give anybody some advice, and I'm not trying to be better than HuntWise here, but I'm going to tell you something when it comes to the rut. The most important thing you'll ever do as a deer hunter during the rut is be out there in the woods. That's the number one most important thing. I will tell you that 90% of the opportunities you're missing are in those, especially on public land, are those times when you think it's weird to go out and sit right now. Your 10 to 1 o'clocks. I mean, those times when all the hunters are out of the woods. The deer are smart, y'all. They pattern us. I mean, think about it, no different than you, if you're on public land and everybody's blowing grunt calls, maybe it's a good idea that time you hunt, don't blow that damn grunt call, because that deer has heard that hundreds of times. You know what I mean? And so my big thing is, this is why I say is where I'm getting with this is when you're out there scouting and you see a buck chasing a doe, don't leave. Get there right now and don't leave. I'm just telling you, for several days, maybe up to a week straight, that scent is going to be in that area, and those bucks are going to show up, period. And now if the wind's not right, whatever, you got to play all those factors, use HuntWise to give you those advantages at that moment. But that's the best piece of rutting advice I can give to people is when you see it, get on it now. I mean, like, get it on when it's hot.
Yeah.
No.
Nate, real quick, when we're on, I'm just noticing this because I'm not a tech savvy person. Tristan probably already knows this, but I'm sitting here looking through this HuntCast on this tree stand, and it says create an alert for this area. Never miss out on a successful hunt. Talk about this.
Yeah. So what we did for hunt areas. So hunt areas are what we call properties. It's sort of like, you create your boundaries. You put your pins in there. You set your ideal winds. Then you can set a hunt alert for that area. So let's say you click on, I want to create an alert for my, public land piece number 1. I only want to hunt if, I want to get notified if there's a 75% day or higher. So you'll get a push notification or alert on your phone saying, hey, next week Thursday will be the best day to, it matches that alert criteria that you're looking for.
Wow.
So it's like, hey, you can have, let's say 5 different hunt areas across, a couple hours from each other, and you're like, all right, where should I go? Which one should I go? And then what stand do I need to be in? So we try to break it down from a macro level of like, out of your 5 hunt areas, 2 of them are 75% days or better. Sweet. What's my stands look like? Compare my stands by wind. Use wing cast. And you can say, all right, out of those 2 hunt areas, I have 1 stand or 2 stands that best match my wind. So I'm going to go with public land hunt area number 3 instead of number 2. So yeah, we just try to give, we forget to look at things sometimes. So the alerts are there to just let you know, like, hey, you have a great day coming in your forecast. You should put down the calendar, keep an eye on that day, and see if you need to put in for PTO. So instead, you always have to be on cast, and we try to give you alerts for your hunt areas ahead of time if you preset those.
Yeah. So as I drill down on this, I keep going down. Now I get into, here's Jeff Sturgis. He says, see why HuntCast is leading the industry in advanced whitetail prediction. You can watch this video, y'all. But then right underneath that, you have Whitetail Strategy 365 peak estrus date. It's showing me here 11/6/2022. It's saying today we're in the signing phase. Y'all, it tells you what the signing phase is along with a little video from Jeff right there with this. I mean, we were joking around before we got on this, Nate, about having a little plug that, a pellet that goes into your neck from HuntWise, and then you don't have to. It just tells you what to do, This is incredible stuff. I mean, talk about Whitetail Strategy 365.
Yeah, so it's like, year round, this sort of really goes off of a lot of what Jeff's sort of got this ethos, like, hey, deer hunting isn't just, from October through December. Like, there's a whole aspect if you have land and you can try to manage it, which that's what he does for his job, is helping people cultivate whitetail habitat. So from doing certain activities in the spring, summer, from I need to create better hinge cuts to give deer better bedding cover if I want to keep them on my property, when should I do that? From like shed season to figure out, all right, what deer are still here, where their antlers dropping, and just making mental notes of that pre-scouting kind of season. And then, summertime, putting water holes in if you can do that. It's a whole 365 kind of strategy when it comes to hunting whitetail. So not just your normal, November gun season, but we think if you're really into it and you really have the time and are invested into it, we try to give you all the different, 365 overview of what you could be doing if you're inclined to throughout the year to, find success for that fall.
Yeah. And that's exactly right. Like, there's people that, to them, what their love of hunting is, like that one weekend a year they get to go out and call it gun season in Illinois or whatever. And, it's old buddy's property that they always shoot a deer at, and that's the end of it. But then they're on the opposite end of that spectrum is the guy that you guys are talking about, that like you also want to give him the tools, is like the most OCD prepared hunter you could have. That
Yes.
Like very similar to my dad that just, analyzes all this stuff and wants to put just the very best opportunity you can have, to hunt these deer. And that's just awesome.
Yeah, it's like we try to hit all spectrums, and I want to make sure it's like, hey, yeah, we're talking for new hunters, but we also want to make sure, hey, if you're a seasoned hunter or have been hunting for over a decade, that there's still some additional value that we can hopefully show you. Maybe you already know it, hopefully you do, but for those who don't, and just keep on adding hopefully helpful educational pieces of content out there that people will help find success. Yeah.
Now, one thing I wanted to ask, from the duck side of things, and you guys have this rut cast and this predictability as far as ducks. Now, one of the things, this is kind of a loaded question. I know, I don't think you're personally like a big duck hunter, Nate. You may be, I don't know. But, one of the things Tony and I learned in this past year, just us personally, boots on the ground, is that, Florida, cold fronts push ducks. and cold fronts move whitetails too, you know, and other factors and all that. But
Yeah.
a good hard cold front will move mallards, you know, out of North Dakota down to, you know, these other states, Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, whatever. But one of the things we noticed within like the month of January, like we hunted Florida, and in a state like Florida, people tell us that the ducks just get there in November and there's not really another push, and the ducks that are there. And we hunted in January, and ducks get super stale where they won't land into your decoys and stuff. We totally experienced that on the coldest cold front that has came through Florida since 2008.
Yeah.
We hunted it.
Oh, wow.
And there was no new push of birds. I mean, we couldn't get a bird to decoy to save our lives. Now, the next 2 weekends we spent in Arkansas, and it was like locked up in Missouri. Like, I don't know if you remember, Nate, but it was really cold like the last like 2 weeks of January.
They had that polar freeze that came down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Polar vortex.
Yeah.
It was super cold. And like Missouri was locked up, and Arkansas, when we were out there duck hunting, was just lights out for like the last week of the season. And, you know, I guess where I'm getting at with this question is, because I know you guys added that duck piece last year, is do you guys, on your end, when you're building this kind of algorithm on what's going to be a good duck hunting day or not, do you guys look at those kind of, like, can you kind of give any insight on the
factors
the
involved?
Factors on duck hunting side of things, I guess?
That's a great question.
And I know, like, I don't want to put you too on the spot.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have the best answer.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, you know, who's our founder,
Yeah.
you know, also loves waterfowl hunting.
Mm-hmm.
I think there were just some basic factors that he knew and could research.
Mm-hmm.
I know honestly there's probably some updates or just additional data, you know, like trying to, work with Jeff Sturgis of waterfowl, because it's such a, I feel like a bigger macro level of movement, like a whole state gets frozen, locked up,
Yeah.
and it will have this dramatic effect of, you know, hundreds of miles south of will feel that result.
Right. Yeah.
It's almost like taking like a cold front from a small, county or a property area, and there's 100 times that size of understanding, especially from the coastal states, east and west. Just those different weather can affect on the central flyway. I think there's things that we probably would love to actually look at doing more into it. I think that could be a future iteration of just like, hey, let's make a badass waterfowl algorithm that's good for mid, central, east and west flyways, and literally just like get the best kind of hunting alerts. And I think that'd be a fun project to work on for the future.
We need to connect him and Mr. Cohen. Seriously.
And let me preface everybody that's listening to this is, Tony and can kind of speak to this too. The reason that like we were big fans of HuntWise from the day one is because of the satellite imagery and the social media piece and some of these things that were just when you were comparing them to what you were getting 4 or 5 years ago.
And the accuracy. I tested them in 5 different states, y'all.
Yeah.
5 different states.
If you look at these different apps, that's the main reason we went with HuntWise. Because I remember my dad telling me, hey, I
bought an elite version of all of them.
Yeah, he's like, this is what you need to get. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I got it. And when I bring up these waterfowl questions, HuntWise, and Nate, you can tell me, right or wrong here, but you guys were founded on like more of like a whitetail premise, out west, big game.
Yeah, that's fair.
And the duck hunting and that kind of thing is like another thing that you guys are working into your app because you want to encompass all hunters. But that's one thing I wanted to be fair for asking me, or to be fair, me asking that question.
Put him on the spot.
Yeah, putting you on the spot. I just wanted to preface that, or I guess, the opposite of preface that.
Yeah. I think it's fun because, like, Jeff is a big waterfowl. Jeff Corder, founder. He's the head of the product. Like Andy Blanchard, who's the head of our the HuntWise team product. Love waterfowl hunting, and I think it's something we've always like, man, can we figure this out from like just like, and I guess our own internal bandwidth of how much time we have, how many hours in the day to get something done. And like you said, whitetail has been our bread and butter. That's what we've always focused on. But as we get, I think, more and more dialed in on that, we get to even more of a steady place. Like there are definitely some overlaps of where, tools for whitetail can be slightly adjusted to fit it right, but could also have a really cool impact for waterfowl.
And
totally agree.
I'm glad you closed it up like that, because that's essentially what I was trying to say with this whole big picture is when you were saying these things about rut casts and deer hunting and all this stuff, it just, my mind, it's clicking these certain barometric pressures or weather change or cold, whatever it may be. I could see this applying to different, the waterfowl or whatever it may be. So
yeah, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but in the future, I'm not trying to be Nostradamus here, but I want an alert that comes to my phone that says migration alert.
Yeah.
And I'm going to jump in my truck and drive my butt to wherever I got to go because I would have FOMO so bad. So bad.
Well, and why, one kind of interesting thing to add to that migration alert thing, Nate, is like, with us being so connected with Florida, a couple times a year, you'll get, the news stations will post off of Key West this massive cloud of birds.
They says it looks like a thunderstorm.
Yeah, and there's so many ducks that'll go straight to Argentina or Cuba or wherever they're going to. A lot of like blue-winged teal and some of these other ducks. And it'll literally register on the weather radar.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
For sure, man. Man, oh man.
Gosh. Well, who knows? Duck casts could be one of the things of the future.
There you go. There you go.
Well, I do know this, that there's so many components of everything that we've covered tonight that are so vital to me as a duck hunter, and let's just kind of, if you don't mind, Nate, let me kind of dive into a little subject before we kind of wrap it up tonight. And that is, I want to talk about just from a user perspective, how we use HuntWise duck hunting. So y'all, when we do this, you might be hunting private land. You might be hunting the flooded timber in Arkansas. You might be hunting the marshes of Florida or the East Coast or whatever you're at. One of the most important things is that when you go out there and you find a spot, you got to be able to get back there in the pitch black. All right. Especially on public land. You're out there all day long scouting, doing whatever on your boat, walking and all this stuff. One of the cool things that, you can just hit this plus button on the mapping and record a walking path. And it records exactly where you go. Now, just for all you smart asses, it doesn't mean that you have to only be walking. You can hit the record a walking path in your boat. All right. But you do that. And I can't tell you how many times that we've been out on the public land in Arkansas. And, of course, the local guys,
I'm so glad he brought this up.
They can close their eyes and drive it in reverse and go 3 miles through the flood timber and never hit a tree. But for us folks that we're not familiar with the property, you guys record a path, and we did this in our Reality of Hunting Arkansas public timber video that we released this year. You guys see us using HuntWise, and we're looking through it, and man, just like, how are we going to get there? All this stuff. I had previously, the day before, recorded myself, and here's the other thing. It records the time. I said, these guys, I go, here's the hole. This is the one we want to get. We're taking 2 different strategies. Davey, you'll take the boat this way. I'm going to run through the forest to try to get it before you get there, just to try to beat boat traffic. And we had this whole plan. I said, he goes, oh, how are we going to know how long it takes? I go, dude, right here on this recorded path, as soon as I hit it, it's going to start recording me, tracking me by GPS, and it's going to record my time. And I knew that it took exactly 7 minutes and 12 seconds for me to run through flooded timber and dry timber to get to where I needed to go. I can't tell you what an advantage that gave us that morning. And to have that and be able to, so the next morning I go back there, it's 4:00 in the morning. I don't know where I'm going. Dude, I had to rely on HuntWise for me, when I hit that and be able to record that path and walk along that GPS line. Y'all need to keep in mind, if it's off 5-10 feet one way or the other, that's not something HuntWise can control. These are FAA regulations on accuracy. Am I correct with that? I mean, they only give like certain super strong signal to GPS data like that with really it's communist. But but you can't everybody can't have that.
Yeah.
You know, and so the government doesn't allow you to have that strong of a signal. And so don't think it's the product, okay, if you're bouncing around a little bit. But the point is, there's no way I could have got there, man. There's no way at all. And when I said in the video, I go, dude, there's no way I could have got here without HuntWise.
Yeah.
There isn't. I couldn't have done that on my own. There's no way, you know? And so I'm just talking about that from a usability, increase my success and odds standpoint, is to be able to have that recording feature, use it in your boat, and you just... It's a huge advantage.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I said this before, but, you know, this game warden was trying to help me and Tristan out with, because we've been so unsuccessful, and he knew we busted our butt for like 7 days trying to just kill one mallard. And he said, well, what app do you use? And I said, HuntWise. He goes, HuntWise, what's that? And I pulled it up, and I pulled up the map, and it was immediately, I had it on the ESRI satellite mode. And he goes, give me that. He grabbed my phone out of my hand, and he goes, where'd you get that map? I go, I didn't get it. It's all right. I was like, I'm blaming it on HuntWise. You know? I didn't do nothing, you know? And he goes, that's like this time of year map. He goes, I'm looking at, and I won't say the product names, but he goes, I'm looking at these other ones. He goes, they don't show it in this time of year map.
Yeah.
And you could see several places that were good hunting spots. And I'm just going to leave them at that. I'm not going to say what they were and how they're conformed or anything like that. For all you public land hunters don't want me to give any tips, I'm not.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just going to say you could see some things that you could not on some of the I will say some of the brands out there that spend a lot of money on marketing. All right. He saw that and it blew his mind. And he took my phone and showed me exactly, drew a map line. He said, this is where you need to go, guys. And it was so cool. It was just a real life thing that happened. You know, that's
awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was so neat. But, man, did we miss anything?
I don't think so. I mean,
Nate, is there something that's going on in the future there? What, is there something you guys got your eyeball on? Like, I don't want to put you on the spot as far as like, you got to be always giving us updates. You know what I mean? But
I think some ideas is just like, hey, how can we help people more? Like, what's the biggest point of pain for people? How can we solve that when it comes to hunting? You know, is it education? Is it better XYZ features? Now, I think this would be a cool opportunity for any of your listeners and like anyone out there. Just like, hey, do you have like certain points of pain that are from mapping to tool set to just like, I wish I had XYZ information. I wish someone could teach me or show me, or there's a video on XYZ. No, shoot, it could be simple video of I need someone to show me how to butcher a deer. And by a professional butcher. No, whatever that is, like, no, that kind of feedback that we listen to people, we listen to our users, we listen to the students, and we just want to help people figure out what's that issue that people are having and how can we fix that. So, I don't know if that really gives you an answer of what we're actually doing, but I think right now, I would just say we're in a stage where we're trying to listen to people, get feedback, and figure out how can we help people with the next challenge that they have in their hunting journey.
Isn't that a cool thing for a company to say that? Basically, here's what he's saying. We're in the processing data mode. You guys, I'm looking at this HuntCast still on the same page I've been talking about this whole time. And it says, enjoying HuntCast? Please share your feedback. You can give your feedback right here in this app. And how many times do we deal with companies on a personal level or whatever it is that they don't give you an option to give your feedback because they're afraid of it? All right. I love that you guys welcome it. I mean, you guys are just like,
we need it.
Yeah, give it to us because that's what we need to help give you the product that you need.
Yep.
Incredible stuff.
The good, the bad, the ugly, the great. We want all of it.
Right. We're not wearing our heart on our sleeve. If you tell us that we need to do this, hey, if there's the data there to support it, we're going to make some changes, you know. And I've watched this develop just from a user standpoint for so many years. I just love where this is going. When I saw these updates that happened a while here, these updates are very recent, and I was just like, dude, what is going on? You know, I mean, this is so cool. So, Nate, thank you so much for taking the time out tonight. Guys. I know we had you for quite a while before we even started, just because, we appreciate the relationship.
Yeah, we can just keep on talking. Yeah, man, it's always good to talk with y'all, and it's fun, and I had a blast. Always do.
That's awesome, man. And yeah, thank you for taking the time out, Nate. And I'm excited. There's a couple of my guys I've been telling that, like my buddies from high school and stuff, I've been telling about HuntWise. And last time at my bachelor party, real quick, you know, my buddy's like, hey, Tristan, can you show me HuntWise? And we never got around to it. But since Tony booked, you know, to have you back on, I was like, listen, we're having Nate back on the podcast soon. And anything I could like tell you, we're going to cover it in the podcast. So I'm excited for them to check it out. And hopefully we're hunting with them on that November trip in Illinois. So hopefully we'll have some good content of that too, you know?
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Well,
it's going to be a blast.
I got one more return on investment sale that I got to give you all about HuntWise. And this just hit me. We talked about it a lot. You know, we were talking about the probability days, you know, with using Rutcast.
Mm-hmm.
Think about this, y'all. I guess I was stingy by saying that just to assume that everybody gets PTO. They don't.
Yeah.
There's a lot of us that are self-employed. There's people that the company doesn't give PTO because they're small, you know, whatever it is. Anytime we take off work, it costs something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so I'm talking to you, blue-collar, hard-working person out there. I want you to think of this one thing. If you were able to increase your odds on a hunt or a week, and like I told you guys, I'm looking all the way out to 11:10 on this tree stand right now. If you're able to increase, and I can tell you right now from 11.5, I've got a 99%, a 49%, a 96%, and 99%. These are the 4 days that if you're not in the woods, you're a dummy. All right? It's basically, this is the deal. Think about the fact that how many times have we all taken that time off as hunters because that's when we plan to, and we're not successful, and you're like, gosh, and I didn't get paid.
Yeah.
You know, so what's one day of pay worth you? One day of pay worth you could pay for this app in Elite one day.
Right.
So there's your sales pitch right there.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, it's like that actually reminds me of Dudley talking about how I think he was working at Matthews back in the day. It's like he would trade shifts.
Mm-hmm.
He would, you know, work a weekend to be able to get a weekday off, or just like trade days because you know you have limited PTO, and just like you just had to be creative to get that to work out, to find that best day. You have to hunt the day, not the calendar, kind of thing. You have to hunt the weather, not the calendar.
Yeah. No, that's
the best way I can think and put it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But yeah, man, this is awesome. Always enjoy talking with y'all. It's always cool.
Well, we're going to have you on again. There ain't no doubt about that. And we're just going to keep being just giant supporters of what you guys do. We thank you so much for supporting us and being a partner of us. Yep. And, it's so easy to be genuine and authentic. We talked about this off the podcast when you really, truly believe in something. Mm-hmm. You know, we were talking about Mr. Dudley and all that stuff and his authenticity. And it's fun whenever you get to be part of something that's truly great. I mean, I love it. It definitely saves me a lot of time and money.
Good. Hey, that means we're doing our jobs right.
Yes, sir.
We're already, Nate. Well, I appreciate your time, and we'll have this out on Monday for you people listening. And yeah.
Yep. Until next time, as they say, happy hunting.
I've been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I'll slow down.